Hi everyone, welcome back to another Nature's Always Right video. Today is going to be kind of an update of the recent irrigation video I did. Here's a link for that one so you guys can see how I set up all my drip tape irrigation, how I laid out all my 1/2 inch for my entire yard. Today I'm going to show you how to build one of the most important pieces of my irrigation system, and this is just a little manifold setup. So I have manifolds set up for each bed so that I can turn them on and off. This allows me to control how much moisture is going out into the bed at different times. Sometimes there's beds that you don't want to water because they're too wet. So then at that point I can turn them off. Okay, so we're going to look at how to put this together, and I'm going to show you step by step on what to do. So there's many ways to set up drip systems. There's a million ways, but I chose this way for a multitude of reasons. Because this is a small area, I wanted to really have a lot of control over my watering and what I'm doing. On a larger scale, building something like this might not be as smart because it would take a lot more effort and work and time and cost. But for me, on this smaller scale, having more control over the beds like this is amazing. I love it like this. And if you're doing things on a smaller scale, I think this is a really great way to do it. You can also have central manifolds where you have all 20 different valves set up that open and close, but then you're running a lot more lines. So there's a lot of give and take when you're setting up an irrigation system. And like I said, there's just a million ways to do it, a million contexts for different reasons why you would do different things. So for my context, this is how I set it up. So I have 30-inch beds, and I run drip tape every 6 inches, and I have 4 lines. Now this is the maximum you would ever want to do on a bed. And I wanted to try 4 lines just to try it. I was really curious to see if I could sprout direct seeded stuff with these lines, just watering with the lines and not hand watering. And I have successfully done that 20 times. Now I've kind of switched over to using a combination of drip and overhead sprinkler watering, and I'll talk about that in a future video, explaining more about that strategy. But what I wanted to say is that you don't need to run 4 lines on a 30-inch bed. I really think that 3 on a 30-inch bed is probably the most ideal as far as cost effectiveness and water spread. Now when you have 4 lines, it is pretty cool because the spread of the water is perfect. It goes across the whole thing. But not all crops need that, and it's not totally necessary. And since I do a lot of direct seeded stuff, overhead watering works pretty well for that. But it's a little more wasteful, right? So what I like to do now, I'll kind of tell you my strategy in a nutshell. When I direct seed, I use my drip tape. I get it super soaked and wet so that it stays wet easily, and then I just need to add a little bit of water from there on out. I take away the lines, and then I just use overhead watering to keep it wet and moist until the seeds sprout, and then at that point on, it doesn't take tons of moisture anymore. So yeah, if you're designing your system for a 30-inch bed, don't feel that you have to use 4 lines. 3 lines, for me, is the most ideal and makes the most sense for most crops. So most transplanted crops. So do your own research, figure out what you want to grow, and go from there. Okay, so this is how I build my on and off. Attach this onto my 1/2 inch, and this connector allows me to twist on and off and attach my drip tape. So I've got my little hole punch here. I definitely recommend getting a hole punch like this. The other kind where you just press it by hand is like really brutal on your hands and fingers. This is really simple. So I've cut these pieces right here at 15 inches each. So the total length is about 30.5 inches. So basically what I'm doing is I'm lining up the 12 and the 18 inch to be about 1 inch away from this connector piece. And then I'm measuring out another 6 inches from the 18 and the 12. So I'm going to be putting these connectors at 6, 12, 18, and 24. And this gives me an equidistant spacing on a 30-inch bed. Okay, so I just eyeball this. It's pretty close to perfect. I try to keep my hole puncher at the same angle every time.
so that the holes are facing, they'll still be at the same angle. Because if you do one hole a little bit off, then it'll sit in the bed like a little off kilter. It'll sit like this. So one tape would be kind of facing up a little bit. But if you can punch the hole at the same distance or angle, then you can kind of twist this, and it doesn't really matter. You can put it as close or as far away from the bed as you want. Okay, so if I get a little bit off here, I just go back, I line it up with the 18 right here, and then I know 24 is where I want to make my hole. Same angle every time. I just pinch the sidewalls, it helps it go in. Boom, there we go. And that is almost at the same angle there, so that when it is in the ground, the tape's facing the same direction. So what I usually do is I make all the holes first, and then I'll insert all the pieces. I think the most efficient way usually is to do each process at a time. So what I'm doing right now is the wrong way, actually. I'm combining the processes, but it'd be better just to do the holes first. When you switch back and forth, it can really slow you down. There we go, 18. And then I go to the other side, I'm making sure it's lined up with 18, 12, 6. So far I'm extremely happy with these connectors. They work really well. It makes it very easy to take drip tape on and off for preparing beds, or whatever reason you need to take the tape off for repair or any purpose. And when you buy these in bulk, they're about 30 cents a piece, so they're not too expensive. But you should check out my other video. I'll show you how to make the cheapest transfer barb setup possible into drip tape. It's cheapest, and it's fairly easy to set up as well. Alright, let's go on lightning speed here and put these together. Okay, so when I'm putting together this first piece with the on and off switch, I like to start out by just taking my 2.5 inch cuts and putting them like halfway on. It's not that much effort to do that. And it helps to switch sometimes. Sometimes they deform. So like the straighter cut you make across the 1/2 inch, the better, so that it doesn't deform. Okay, so this is on there good enough. It's super tight. There's one other technique that you could use to do this. And the second piece is to add these T's on there. So you can actually do that all at the same time. You start the same way, you put it halfway on, this, and then for the next step, you'll put these on part of the way so that they start sticking. Okay, yeah, both of them part way on, and now I can just press together and twist back and forth. It pushes the 2.5 inches together and these together at the same time. So both techniques work pretty well. The second technique I just showed you probably takes a little bit more effort, but you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, which I always like to do. Alright, I just got to finish these off, and then I need to make all my 15-inch cuts. There's one 15-inch cuts goes here, the other goes here.